Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Sir John. I'm afraid my contribution will jar with the cosy consensus of this debate, if we should call it a debate, because has it not just been an echo chamber for the laments of 2 or 3 dozen Europhile MPs? It hasn't been a debate at all. But what brings us here is 130,000 odd signatures on a petition. Well, of course, what that immediately calls to mind is the contrast with the 17,410,742 British voters who made the most consequential decision in the greatest democratic decision ever made by the greatest number of people ever voting. And of course, that embarrasses those. That's why almost 2 hours into this debate, that's the first time we've heard that figure, because those in this chamber today have their face set against that democratic decision. And of course, this petition is notable, that it is in its arrogance. It doesn't even say, well, let's have another referendum. No, in its arrogance, it demands that we simply rejoin the EU that the British people decided democratically to leave. Now, I know that's an uncomfortable fact, but that is the core issue here.
Will the member give way?
Yes, I'm going to give way.
I thank the member for giving way. He speaks of uncomfortable facts. Has he been listening to the uncomfortable facts that have been shared in this chamber here today?
Well, let me give the honourable member and some others some rather uncomfortable facts. And for those Euro fanatics who gather in this hallowed hall today, I'm delighted to tell you that only 50 of my constituents in North Antrim signed this petition. And of course, that's for very good reason. Because unlike the rest of you, we have continued to have to live under the EU. We have continued to have to be subject to the bureaucratic stranglehold of the EU's single market and of its customs code. And what has that meant? That has meant, in the circumstance of Northern Ireland, that in over 300 areas of law, we are governed by laws we don't make and can't change because they're made by a parliament, a foreign parliament, in which we have no say. That is the product of the denial of Brexit to the people of Northern Ireland. That is how we've been left. And of course, those are the laws that govern the single market. And I hear the moving desire of you all to be back in the single market. Well, let me tell you what it has meant for Northern Ireland to be in the single market. We have been told it was the best of both worlds. We were told, what a panacea, if only we all had the best of both worlds. Well, let me tell you what that has meant for Northern Ireland. Being the best of both worlds, being able to sell into that mighty market of the EU was supposed to be that which would bring a flood of foreign direct investment into Northern Ireland. We were going, according to some of the enthusiasts, to be the Singapore of the West. Well, I have to tell you, there has not been one foreign direct investment into Northern Ireland because of the single market access. That, in a moment, that is the reality. So before you get what you wish for, I just caution you that being in the single market is no panacea. And of course, it comes in Northern Ireland at the price I've already illustrated. The fact that we must be governed by laws we don't make and can't change. And you all now seem, well, the 2 dozen of you are here, seem to want to put the whole United Kingdom in that position. And I've heard people lament about tariffs from America. But you want to put yourselves in the club that will be the most tariffed from the United States. Where is the logic of that? It really is beyond belief. But the real lesson out of Northern Ireland is this. The growth in our economy has come from the services sector. And that is the sector which is outside EU control. So of the 2 sectors, the manufacturing and all of that, and the services sector, the sector that has grown is the one outside the control of the EU. The one that's still under the control of the EU is the one that has struggled and has not grown. And that, I think, is a telling reminder of what it means to subjugate yourself in a subservient way to rules that are made in a foreign parliament. Yes, I'll give way.
And he's right. Many of us feel desperately sad about the position that Northern Ireland was put in as a result of Brexit. I hate to tell him, but actually the services sector, because Northern Ireland is still both in this position because of the value of the Good Friday Agreement, is included in Northern Ireland. But I just want to ask him, because he made much stir there of the 50 people who deigned to sign the petition from his constituency and dismissing those people who might be supportive of having a relationship with the European Union. What does he say to the 693,525 voters in Northern Ireland, the majority of them, who voted to remain? In this debate, there are many contentions thrown around, but he wants to talk numbers. Numbers matter.
Well, 2 things. The honourable member is wrong that services are under the Protocol Windsor framework. They are not. They are free from it. So she is just simply wrong about that. On the question of Northern Ireland voted in favour of remaining, so what? That was not the vote. That was not the question on the ballot paper. The question on the ballot paper was, should the United Kingdom leave? And you might as well say, as you titter and congratulate each other, you might as well say, well, didn't London vote to remain?
That's true.
So what? It was a national vote. It wasn't about how the regions voted, because the question on my ballot paper, as on yours, Mr. Chairman, was, did I want the United Kingdom to leave or to stay? That was the question. My only regret is that for my part of the United Kingdom, we weren't delivered the Brexit that was voted for. Thank you.